You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
It's a big story of, love and revenge and vengeance and just the thoughts and mindset of Sweeney Todd.
It's weird. I mean, there's no show like this.
Because most people think that it is this gory musical thriller, but my approach to it was something very different.
I feel you, Johanna.
At the core of it, or the heart of it, it definitely is a story of revenge, of what you would do to protect those that you love and how far you're willing to go.
What happened then? Well, that's the play, and he wouldn't want us to give it away.
It's very real. I feel like that's especially conveyed through the music.
The music. The music is the hardest element.
How charity taught the world my past.
Yes, I know my love.
We'll take
The music is always happening. It's very rare. It's about 90% sung through. So that means
You really have to practice.
But you push through and you make it work.
for a high school to be doing this show, it's amazing.
I think that is something that sets us apart as well, is that the students are involved in every aspect.
Selling all our ads and building the set and making sure we have all the props and making sure all the costumes are done on time.
It seems almost impossible, but to see us do it and the fact that we are able to do it, it proves that we can do almost any show that we want to.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show Crosstalk. I'm your host, Scarlett Simpson. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. This week, we're taking a deeper look at the Poplar Pike Playhouse's spring musical, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. We just saw a sneak peek of all the work the cast and I have been doing over the past 2 months. Today, we will hear from choral director Matthew Hayner about the preparations for the operatic style music. Later, we will sit down with the Demon Barber himself, Rodney McKinner, as well as Rachel Christopherson, who stars as damsel in distress Johanna. But first, director Ashleigh Williams joins us on set to tell us more about this monster of a musical. Ms. Williams, thank you so much for being on the show today.
You are so welcome.
Well, for our viewers who don't know, can you explain Sweeney Todd?
Sweeney Todd is a musical thriller, is what it is billed as. But at the core of Sweeney Todd, you're dealing with love and revenge and just how far you're willing to go to keep those people in your life that mean the most to you.
Well, you yourself told us cast members that not many high schools do this show. So why did you pick it?
I knew we had a group of students, both on stage and behind the scenes, that could tackle this size of a show. It really is rarely done in high schools. One, because musically it is so challenging, and you're dealing with adults and adult issues and things, so connecting to it on a high school level is hard. And technically it's hard, but I knew we had a group that could handle it, and when I have a group like that I know can do it, it was the right time.
Well, I am in the cast, and I can honestly say that this is probably one of the hardest shows I've ever been in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think it's because when a show is completely sung, or almost 90% of it is sung, you don't have the dialogue to rely on. Everything has to be told through the music, and through the lyrics. And I think that is one, from an acting standpoint, one of the challenges, because you don't have just the normal dialogue that you would in a regular musical.
Well, there are obvious reasons why this musical is different from other musicals, because of the gruesome decisions. But what other ways is Sweeney unique?
I think technically, when you have to, in our space especially, because we do have an intimate space, we aren't able to do the two-story building that a lot of places do. And when Sweeney kills his, the people that come to see him, they usually slide down and they end up somewhere else. Well, ours was very challenging in that we had to build the chair from scratch. Miss Ward, our technical director, did that along with Mr. White in the technical theater class. And they designed this chair that flips the people backwards and it's really, I think, something neat to watch. So that's something else that I think just makes it very different, especially our version of it.
Well, in your director's letter, which audience members can read, you mentioned how they shouldn't judge a book by its cover when watching the show. Can you go into detail about that?
I just think that when you only approach this show about a razor and about meat pies, I think that you really miss what truly is going on, especially in a world in such as, that we live in. The headlines are crazy all the time, and that's what I talked about in the director's letter. And I think to judge someone so quickly when you don't exactly know what they've been through, how they got to the point where they are, and to me, that's how Sweeney Todd is. I don't think anything he's doing is right, don't get me wrong. But if you just look at it on the surface of he's gonna kill these people and she's gonna put them in pies and all of that, you're missing what really is going on in the story.
This musical is really about love and how far you would go for someone that you love. Do you think it opens the eyes of the audience?
I hope it does. I hope that that's what the audience goes away with. It is thrilling and it is fun and it's exciting to watch, that sort of thing on stage. But I hope they go away finding and feeling the deeper meaning that Sweeney Todd has for those that he loves in the show.
Well, one of the biggest stars in the show is the barber chair, as you mentioned, as well as the blood. Can you talk about all the magic that happens behind the scenes?
Yes, I think the blood has been probably one of the biggest challenges because you have to find a way to hide it and to execute it just right. And so we, of course, added a little bit more when people come back on stage. And what's interesting, though, is that we had to figure out how to make it, how it would come out of clothes. I mean, there's a whole process to it so that it ends up looking like it should look like when it's on stage.
Well, another technical wonder are the lights, which really make the show. Can you talk about how it really sets the mood for each scene, especially the murders?
Yes, it's amazing to me. At our first dress rehearsal, we don't usually have the lights. And so I always leave that first Sunday night thinking, oh my gosh, what if I miss? There's something I haven't done right. I'm missing something. And then the next night we come in and Bob Ramsey and the lighting students have just created this incredible world. And it just adds, especially in a show like this, it just adds a whole nother level that we use with light boxes and different things to create the mood in the scene. There's one of my favorites is one of the songs, City on Fire, talking about the smoke and all these different things, and he uses these red lights that just help create this incredible mood. So to me, the lighting itself is kind of its own show. It's so beautiful.
Well, when you began doing Sweeney Todd, did you ever imagine that it would be what you see now?
I had an idea just because I knew the kids that I cast and who I was working with. But no, I think that I am even more surprised that you all were able to take this such a mature show and to really come that far with it and develop these characters and do all of those different things. And so far the audiences have just left loving it, and that's what that to me, and to see how far y'all have grown is what makes it a success.
Well, Miss Williams, thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
We have to take a short break. When we return, we'll dive deeper into the music of Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Stay tuned.
Poplar Pike Playhouse. presents Love Lost. Love Found. Love Unrequited. Love Revenge. Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. Call 755-7775 or go to ppp.org to reserve your seats today.
It's the one time of year when the bargains come to you. Germantown High School Television's Auction 2018, right here on GHS-TV.org. Bid on great items like theater tickets, restaurant gift certificates, artist prints, and much more. Online bidding begins April 14th, and be sure to tune into the live broadcast hosted by members of the community, alumni, and students. Saturday, April 28th from 2 to 5 p.m. on GHS-TV.org. All proceeds benefit GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student TV station. Bid online and don't miss your chance to win.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Some people may call Sondheim crazy for the scoring he wrote for Sweeney Todd, but musical director Matthew Hayner tackled the music head-on. He joins us now on set to share the process of teaching the operatic style of Sweeney Todd. Mr. Hayner, thank you for being on the show today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Well, the music for Sweeney Todd is honestly unlike any other show I've ever done. It's very operatic. Can you talk about that?
I told the cast when we first started the whole process, this is not like you're singing Alan Menken. It's a whole different animal, and I challenged them to take on the style of the music. When you listen to the recording, it's very, very operatic in nature. Some would call it an opera. I would call it more of an operetta. And I told the cast that when you first start this, everything is going to be taller, it's going to be more open, it's a different style singing than we're used to and we've been exposed to in a long time. And they've taken it on. The nature of the score itself, the ranges of the vocal lines demand that the singers sing this with correct technique, which is an operatic style, an operatic technique.
Well, what has been the main challenge of an all-sung show?
It makes my job very challenging. Usually in any production, I'm used to long periods of dialogue where I can relax a little bit. So I'm constantly on cue, making sure that every single note, whether it be in the singers or the orchestration, is constantly on point. So it's a huge challenge in that regard. I would say it also helps fuel the drama, though, and I'll talk more about that. But when you get into a musical and the audience is unsure whether to applaud at the end of a song because the music keeps going, suddenly we have these longer spurts of drama, and everything leads to the next segment. It's a musical machine, I would call it.
Well, we actually have a duet between Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd. Let's take a look.
Good you got it. Take for instance Mrs. Mooney and her pie shop. Business never better using only pussycats and toast. Now a pussy's good for maybe 6 or 7 at the most. And I'm sure they can't compare as far as taste.
Mrs. Lovett, what a charming notion,
Well,
eminently
it
practical
does
and yet
seem
appropriate
always.
as always. Mrs. Lovett, how I live
It's
without
an
all these
idea.
things I'll never know.
Think about it, lots of other gentlemen who will be coming for a shave. Well, they hang up all their pies.
What's the sound of the world out there?
What's Mr. Todd, what is that sound?
Those crunching noises pervading the air.
Yes, Mr. Todd, yes, all around.
It's man devouring man, my dear.
And who are we to deny it in here?
Oh, man, we're together, and we'll do wonders, won't we? friend.
I'm your friend.
Come, let me hold you.
If you only
Now
knew,
with
Mr.
a
Todd,
sigh,
Mr. Todd, you're
warm in my heart, my friend, my clever friend.
Always had a fondness for you, I did.
Rest now, my friend.
Never you fear,
Soon
Mr.
I'll
Todd.
unfold
You can move in here, Mr. Todd.
Splendors
you
never have dreamed all your days, my lucky friend.
I'm your friend.
Till now your shine was merely silver.
Silver's good enough for me.
Friend, you shall drip rubies. You'll soon drip precious rubies. At last, my right arm is complete again!
This is a show that is an all-sung musical, which can be very difficult, but the actors also have to mix their singing with acting. How do you work alongside Miss Williams to ensure that this happens?
From the beginning, when we were first choosing the show, Miss Williams and I agreed on several things. That, first of all, the music is the priority, first and foremost, because 80% of the show is sung, and we were both willing to compromise at times. She's given me several rehearsals where we just need to clean things up musically, and that's part of the process, and we both understood that at the beginning. And I'm fortunate to be in a position where we have that relationship. We are able to work well together to make sure that all elements of the show come together and provide one cohesive unit.
Well, Sondheim likes to produce pieces that are both intricate and difficult, but how do you feel that they add to the feel of the musical?
I would say, and just listening to that duet, A Little Priest, and not only that, but the tune before that, which is essentially Sweeney's soliloquy, it's called Epiphany. These two moments in the show, when we look at the original stage adaptation by Christopher Bond, those two moments happen so quickly in the original play. It's about two pages. And Sondheim, in his brilliance, it's the most pivotal part of the story when he goes crazy and decides to murder people.
They all deserve to die. Tell you why, Mrs. Lovett, tell you why.
And yet there is a brilliance to it that we can use all of these murders and we can sell them as pies. That's the genius of Sondheim. So he's taken those 2 pages and created a 20-minute movement out of that. And it's fun, it's awesome. It's the best part of the show. The singing is beautiful.
Maybe it was old.
Have you any Beatles?
Next week, so I'm told. Beatles is
So moments like that, but also the underscore, the constant motion of music that the audience isn't sure when to applaud. These are things that Wagner experienced during the Romantic era. He would set 3 hours of music straight so no one would clap. And that's the brilliance of what he's done musically.
What were your first thoughts when you found out that we were doing Sweeney Todd as the spring musical?
Initially excited, but terrified. It's a huge challenge musically, and I knew that going into it. I knew because we looked at the student talent that we had, and I knew we would find the pieces that we needed to for the principal roles, which is why we chose the show. We felt our talent really suited the roles in the show. And I would say that gave me confidence, but really until you get through those auditions and you hear the students that you're going to be able to work with and the ensemble, the importance of the ensemble in the show, all of that, it's a wait and see. You sort of have to wait and find out who's going to audition for your show and trust trusts the work ethic of this program, trusts the talent that we have here, and the commitment to musical theater.
Well, Mr. Hayner, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Up next, Rodney McKinner and Rachel Christopherson discuss their starring roles.
It's the one time of year when the bargains come to you. Germantown High School Television's Auction 2018, right here on GHS-TV.org. Bid on great items like theater tickets, restaurant gift certificates, artist prints, and much more. Online bidding begins April 14th, and be sure to tune into the live broadcast hosted by members of the community, alumni, and students. Saturday, April 28th from 2 to 5 p.m. on GHS-TV.org. All proceeds benefit GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student TV station. Bid online and don't miss your chance to win.
Poplar Pike Playhouse presents Love Lost. Love Found. Love Unrequited. Love Revenge. Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. Call 755-7775 or go to ppp.org to reserve your seats today.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Scarlett Simpson. This week we are getting a sneak peek at the PPP's musical thriller, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. It's time now to hear from the actors. Here with me now is Sweeney Todd himself, Rodney McKinner, along with Rachel Christopherson, who plays Johanna. Rodney, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
us. Well, Rodney, we know a little bit about Sweeney, but Rachel, tell us about Johanna. She isn't your usual damsel in distress.
Yeah, she's the typical damsel in distress, just in the way that she's trapped by her prominent male figure in her life. But other than that, she's the force that allows herself to escape. Like, she gets herself out of situations, even if it's with the help of other people. She is basically the brains behind the operation. She takes initiative to get herself out of situations. So I really think she's very smart in that way.
Well, Rodney, you are the star of the show, and it's only your junior year. How are you handling the pressure?
Well, when I first received the role, it wasn't really pressure that went into my mind. It was more excitement. And it still is excitement now. But usually people think that seniors would get the lead roles. And the fact that you said, like, I'm a junior, it meant more, and it just made me want to do more, and it made me just want to give everything on stage.
You, sir, how about a shave? Come and visit your good friend Sweeney. You, sir, too, sir, welcome to the grave. I will have vengeance. I will have salvation.
Well, you both know that the characters in Sweeney Todd have multiple layers and need to have intricate details. Can you talk about how you both get into character? Rachel, we'll start with you.
Well, as cheesy as it probably sounds, Anthony and Johanna, who are lovers in the show, me and the actor who plays Anthony, backstage, we always hug before we go on, so we can have like on-stage chemistry in every scene we do. And sometimes I don't really pay attention to what's going on around me when we're doing like makeup or costumes. Like if people are playing music, I don't really listen. I try not to get too much into the modern era. I try to just like think of myself as Johanna and just as a part of that whole story, so I don't just disconnect from that character.
And Rodney?
Well, before I go on stage, I've made a list of character traits that Sweeney goes through throughout the show. And before I go on, I just go through different emotions, different hand movements that I may use on stage, and I just practice them so I know what I will be feeling.
Well, Rodney, there is more to Sweeney than his rough and dark outside. Can you talk about the most surprising thing you found out about your character?
Well, how Miss Williams first told me that he's not a villain. He's lost so much. And the real soft spot with him is when people talk about Lucy or Johanna. Those are his soft spots. And when people talk about them, it just triggers him in a way that it's his longing, or that he wants that back because he's lost that. And that's the really surprising thing, that he's more than just a dark person that's very unamused, that he's a more emotional person.
Well, as a cast member, I can honestly say that this is one of the hardest shows I've ever done. Rachel, what has been the hardest part for you?
The hardest part for me probably has been trying to balance the singing with the acting, because it's so like heavily dependent on both that you can't really have one without the other. Like, the show is mostly singing and music, so you can't really just exclude the acting. You have to incorporate it into everything you do, and you have to have the music down so much that you don't even have to think about what you're singing. You can just focus on the acting during the actual show. So I think that's probably been the most challenging part for me.
Well, the ongoing theme within the show is how far you would go for your loved one. What is your limit?
I would basically do anything for my loved ones. They're probably the most important thing in my life right now, so yeah.
Rodney, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
I want to thank all my guests for being here today and for showing us a little behind the scenes of Poplar Pike Playhouse's Sweeney Todd. Remember to buy or reserve your tickets for Sweeney Todd online at ppp.org or call the box office for more information at 901-755-7775. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 a.m., and 12 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Scarlett Simpson. From all of us at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk. As we leave you, enjoy more scenes from Sweeney Todd, and we'll see you next time.